Hey everybody, thank you for listening to Filling in the Gaps. Be sure to check us out on our social media pages at Filling in the Gaps. From there you can get updates on show releases and anything special we may be doing. Sit back and enjoy the show. Should be a lot of fun.
All right, everybody, and welcome out to episode 6 of Filling in the Gaps. Filling in the Gaps, if this is your first time, is a show where myself, my name is Rich, and Cam, two friends from across the country. I live in Ohio. Cam lives out in Texas. Each week, sit down and for an hour, brainstorm an idea for you to use for your next game session, whether you're running Pathfinder, Starfinder, D&D, Apocalypse System, whatever game you're running. Over the next hour, hopefully we can give you an idea to help you fill in the gaps. We know DMing week after week, or even every other week, can be hard. You run out of ideas. You know what your plot is, and you know where your players are, and sometimes you have those gaps you need to fill. That's where we come in. We're going to take a random theme and a random scenario and mash those two things together into a session for you to run. Some of our past episodes have been a haunted mansion as the theme and a school as the scenario. Some have been gaining intel as the scenario and a rainforest as the theme. They've been a lot of fun so far. We've wanted to run just about every episode. But Cam, why don't you go ahead and give them a quick rundown on what the next hour is going to look like?
Yeah, so essentially, first and foremost, we're going to start by defining our theme and getting an idea of what it is that we're going to be talking about. Actually, I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never recorded a podcast before.
This is what I really
meant to say. Yeah, what I really meant to say is we're going to start to talk about what inspires us, and then what we're going to do is Shall We Roll, our world famous segment, which will allow us to define our scenario and our theme for the week. We will then start to rattle the bones, set the hooks for our players, line out the world building aspects and the plot and skeleton of the story. Then we're going to breathe some life into it, sort of introduce NPCs, interactions, personalities, mechanics that we can use. We're going to actually then go back and sort of do a cool story synopsis if we can. Anything else that we forgot to add, do our social media breakdowns, and say goodbye to everybody.
And so that's the hardest part. So
yeah,
Cam,
it is.
Oh, it is the hardest part. Cam, let's talk inspiration this week. Now, I know this week we didn't necessarily want to hit just on things that inspired us, but kind of people that have inspired us. So why don't you go ahead and start us off? Who are some people, when it comes to storytelling and DMing and dungeon mastering, who do you look up to?
I have three brothers that are very famous for this. I wouldn't say it's for this specifically, but they are very famous in this regards because of a lot of what they've done in this realm. The Griffin, the Travis, and the Justin McElroy brothers, and their more well-known Adventure Zone arcs that they have run. Taz has been it's honestly shown me the beauty of what D&D can be, where it's sort of damn the torpedoes, let's just have fun, let's tell a story, and they focus so much on doing what their characters would do as opposed to what they would do while essentially controlling their character, that it makes for wonderfully organic scenarios. I forgot the greatest of the all McElroys, Clint McElroy, their father, is actually a part of the Adventure Zone.
Yep.
As well, yeah, and he's also a wonderful piece. I feel so terrible that I didn't mention him right away.
Well, you
I'm
should.
going to get hell from people. I should, because he's all of our dads. He's everyone's dads, and then some. But yeah, no, Taz is amazing, man. They have fun. They truly show the light that Adventure Zone, or not Adventure Zone, but Dungeons and Dragons can sort of shed on the world. It's amazing. I honestly, and I mean this, I cried on the final episode of the Adventure Zone. I definitely did, like a baby. And mind you, I'm an electrician that was listening to a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. So I'm sitting in a work truck, like with other electricians, and they're just chilling or something like that, and I'm listening on my headphones with a single tear running down my eye as I'm listening to this wonderful story.
One man tear shed.
Yeah. And then I sucked it back up into my eye. And then the other two that really inspire me to just continue to work really well. These are more well known in this D&D industry, but Matt Colville, he is a phenomenal storyteller, a phenomenal tinkerer of the mindset that you have to have when going into being a DM.
Oh, the man's a wizard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He literally casts spells that are just like, here's a great idea. And that's the spell name too, so it's phenomenal. If I had better ideas, I'd be Matt Colville.
Oh yeah,
essentially.
Like whenever I hear someone who says like, "Hey, I want to start DMing," I'm just like, "Here's Matt Colville. Just listen to him speak."
Right, but then obviously Matt Mercer. I was actually introduced to Matt Mercer through Overwatch, believe it or not. So
it's
I liked.
noon.
Hey ladies, how you doing? I like it. It's just I liked this suave debonair. I don't like playing McCree. I'm terrible at him, but I enjoyed the character so much that I was like, who voices this guy? And then I found out that it's this wonderful nerd that loves all the things that I do.
That's how you found out about him, really?
Yeah, I know. I didn't know about it. I did not know that he was this lead DM of one of the most important Dungeons and Dragons podcasts of all time. Like, I didn't know that he was a phenomenal DM that consistently always tries to say the right thing. The cool thing about him is that he has literally no pride when it comes to being a DM. He is willing to admit when he's wrong. He understands the game so thoroughly, but his joy that he has while playing it is unparalleled. He just has such an absolute youthful bliss to him when he plays this game that it just makes me want to do it more and more and more, and it makes me want to share this game with people because I want to share the joy that he has and the joy that I have to everyone so that they can understand why it's so great. That is tabletop role-playing games. So I absolutely love those four, I guess those six people in particular.
6, 7, yeah, just about.
Yeah. So those are for me. But what about you?
For me, I also love, like, it's hard to not just repeat exactly what you said. So I'm gonna look at some other people who aren't maybe necessarily in the sphere of role-playing games, but are huge for writers. Cam, actually, I need to send these guys to you. I'm surprised I haven't. There's one YouTube channel called Just Write. There's space in between, WRITE for the right. He goes through and talks through how to describe it. His latest movie is Marvel's Biggest Baddie Just Wants to Be Your Daddy, which is just such a clever title, but it's all about Thanos, and he discusses why Thanos is one of the best villains. He goes through what kind of hero is Batman, what these movie directors, what people should learn from the show, the network, how to be a good writer and make these relatable characters, and what makes some characters not so relatable. It's a great channel. You guys have to check it out. Along that line as well, there is Tale Foundry, TALE Foundry, also on YouTube. This guy is an amazing writer. The theme of the show is this robot who studies these different genres of writing, and I believe every month they go through a different genre. He writes a story off of it. He talks about the big inspirations of that genre and where they pop in different forms of media and storytelling through gaming, movies, TV shows, books. The guy's fantastic. Like, he is the reason I am able to go to the gym. Just because I can go to this channel and watch and just get so many ideas. And lastly, these guys are tabletopping geniuses. WebDM. WEBDM, also on YouTube. Jim Davis and Pruitt, every week, will release several videos that talk about, hey, here's how you could roleplay a paladin. Here's some ideas for how to do a low magic setting. I've been watching those guys for, I think, just about a year now, and they have been fantastic. So I'd check out all those guys if you're looking for any inspiration or ideas or advice on how to write a story or how to make a good session. Those would be my big three for inspiration.
Awesome. See, the cool thing is our community is so wonderful. It's so good.
Yeah.
Everyone is willing to help everybody. I mean, our Twitter is off the charts in terms of how cool everybody is to one another. So we're very thankful for that. But at the same time, we because of this, we spread the word, and we want to try to spread the word of those who help us.
Exactly.
Just like we try to help other people and stuff like that. So we're actually going to be posting all of these people's, any of their social media handles, anything like that, any way to lead you to them, because as valuable as they were to us, or as invaluable as they were to us, we hope they can be the same for all of y'all as well. So, with that being said, drum roll, please. I need one. Rich, shall we roll?
Oh, let's do it. So this week, I'm going to go ahead and be rolling for our theme.
Mm-hmm.
And you will be rolling for our scenario. Well, let's see what we get.
Alrighty, and go.
All right. Ooh. I rolled a 7, so we're going to be in the mean streets.
And we're going to be sucked into a different reality or a computer. Like Tron.
Dude, this is going to be for sure a cyberpunk session.
Yes. Okay. You're going to have to teach me some stuff on cyberpunk, because I don't really know much about it.
Man, I wish that Aaron was here. Aaron's my cyberpunk dude. Okay, so we are in the mean streets, and we are doing, what is it again? Sucked into a different reality, or
sucked into a computer or a different reality.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a computer specifically. I just thought that would be sort of cool. To be sucked into a computer, because you could use like the idea of viruses. You could do all kinds of stuff. Now, before we do that though, before we completely dismiss the different reality, what kind of things could you do? Like, could you, when you say what is a different reality?
That is a good point. Like we could do so things you could do if you wanted to do more of like a fantastical setting, like D&D has the ethereal plane and the material plane, the Feywild, the Shadowfell, all these different realities that overlap. Mm-hmm. But if we're wanting to run more of a well, you could do steampunk or cyberpunk setting, or something in Starfinder. You could do. I'm trying to recall upon all of my physics. You could be sucked into like a Mandela theory. If you want to do something like that, where there's these universes that overlap, and in the process of that overlap, some people get left behind or get thrown into the wrong dimension. That could be cool. You could do being, like you said, sucked into a computer. Even if is it Shadowrun? I believe Shadowrun's a really popular cyberpunk.
Very much. Actually, I listened to a Shadowrun actual play podcast called Neoscum.
Oh, there. So why don't you talk about their cyber world real quick, and how it's kind of like, isn't there like always a computer world just set right on top of the physical world, or am I remembering that wrong?
I don't know a lot about the world building of Shadowrun. All I know is that it's like D&D mixed with cyberpunk, mixed 100 years in our future. Essentially, it's like our current time found out that D&D was real. And then orcs, elves, and all those different types of creatures were reintroduced back into our world. And now it's like this sort of like this post-apocalyptic, sort of not, sort of is, sort of isn't really type of Mad Max plus Tron type of thing. So there's a bunch of hacking all the time. Magic is now sort of infused with technology through all of Shadowrun, which is a little confusing. All I know is it sounds like a blast. I actually would love to play it, but apparently
the book itself is like $100. So
the book has a lot of rules. It's a lot of fun. I played some ports to it on different gaming consoles, but it has a lot of rules. Now, here's one thing that we have to consider. So with Shadowrun, you can like enter into this other computer world, or you can hack in, kind of like the Matrix style. But this is specifically sucked into. So almost accidentally or not, you're looking for it, just happens. You're pulled into this other realm by something else. So we have to take that into account too. This isn't something where we've willingly stepped into it. Which kind of could go back to this more physics-based, like Mandela theory or a portal opening up, or with a computer, something going wrong in a lab, which in like a cyberpunk, Deus Ex type world where technology is essentially caught up to what magic is. It's very easy for you to walk into a lab where this portal's spewing out these mechanical constructs, and then you shut it down and get sucked in the process. Cam, what do you think, though? When you picture the phrase "sucked into a computer or a different reality," what do you see? What do you think of?
Tron, 100% Tron.
100% Tron.
I want to do a Tron episode. Let's do a Tron episode.
Okay, all right.
Let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
I'm ready. Let's do it. And look, like, this gives us all the cool things like Shaft and Charles Bronson and all the cool 70s sort of action tropes, like what's the name of the two guys that are Sonny and, or what's their names, man, I can't remember. It's they're like they drive around they drive around their town and they're like detectives essentially.
Cameron,
am I losing you?
So a few episodes ago where I said I hadn't seen Infinity War. Well, I hate to disappoint you again, but I have not seen Tron. And
you've not seen Tron?
I know. I'm terrible, dude. When it comes to movies, absolutely terrible.
It's okay.
So you take the Tron stuff, but that just means I'll be unbiased. I'll be throwing stuff out that maybe is not Tron related. But yeah, I am lost when it comes to that. Except for the fact that they have really cool bikes that leave light trails. That looked pretty neat.
Well, essentially, it's the story of Tron is a guy that gets sucked into a computer, and he'd been searching and researching this computer for a long period of time because his father had been sucked in long ago.
Okay.
And had never returned. And so then he ends up going into this game, and I'm not going to it's movie's old enough, it's all good.
Yeah, you're good.
Ends up going into the game, and as he does, he starts to realize that like everything is sort of works-based there. So you must sort of complete specific task to improve yourself and grow within this world. And then he realizes that one of like the overseers of this world is in fact his dad. And then they are trying to find the portal out to sort of shoot themselves back out into the world. So to me, I think about it this way: if we use Tron, and by the way, the movie I was thinking about and the TV show was Starsky and Hutch. You ever heard of them?
Oh, Starsky and Hutch. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we use the movie Tron and then we use this idea of being sucked into a computer, in one way it could be unintentional, in one way it could be intentional, but then to have Mean Streets Tron, so this is sort of like Ready Player One in a lot of ways. Except it's like unintentional Ready Player One, where we're getting sucked into this world, and now there's all these different people that are sort of portraying these like thugs or something like that. And so this could be a really cool way to you've got to clean up the mean streets of this computer reality, and so you're sort of on the beat in this computer reality to try to get to this big mob boss that you think is the bad guy, but this could be the person that you had originally been searching for all along.
Okay,
was that bad guy?
I just got this idea.
Okay.
So going off of what you were saying, what if So what if the reason they get pulled into this world is maybe the big bad of this arc is this guy who is obsessed with, kind of like what you were saying, like improving the world. So in his mind, he's putting people into this space where time does not exist, where true death does not exist, and he's sucking people into this realm and trapping them there so that they can improve themselves and get better. It's almost like a prison of improvement, kind of. So once he puts people into this world, he doesn't really have much control over it. Maybe he's set programs in place to feed people, or to have these directors that go ahead and teach people, because this guy in his mind is doing a good thing. So he's got these classes, and he's got these schools and these educational centers set up, but he's sucking in these people, just these random townsfolk, anyone he sees, anytime he's attacked, any hero band he walks into, this guy's just sucking them into this world so that he can release them all upon the world later on, and they'll all be better, right? But as you get into it, it's kind of like an Arkham City type scenario, where everyone in there's these, maybe at one point he's absorbed a whole entire like bandit gang, and now there's this bandit gang that's running everything in there. Like, this world has the structures there where you see these classroom settings and these robots going around saying, "Oh, could I help you with anything? Or would you like training in any of these languages, sir?" And no one is doing that because they're just so concerned with surviving and trying to escape. And maybe that's where
streets. Yeah.
Yes, and that's where the mean streets comes in.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So it's a world that had originally a great idea, or at least a flawed idea of what he thought was good. Like, this is going to be a very good thing for the world.
Exactly. So you can't die. You're not wasting any time. Like, you just sitting here.
Let me help these people.
Exactly.
Like, that's what he thinks.
Yep.
But in reality, it's a terrible thing. And so then these people lose hope. They lose any kind of desire of the real world. And once they start to realize sort of the untethered nature of the world that they exist in, all hell breaks loose, and they start to become crazy. And so then a natural economy happens, and you have things like the detectives and the police force pop up and stuff like that. And so I like the idea of that. So maybe this could be it could be an intentional thing where now it's time to go stop this person from actually sucking these people into this, and then when you do, you realize that you've entered into this real world, this world that is so filled with so many more people than you could ever have imagined, and
I think that would be insane. That would be insane to to have this guy come up, or maybe it's even like this professor. You are attacking this gang, or if this is like a cyberpunk setting, you're in the middle of this street fight, or maybe even if it's a cyberpunk setting, you're on the run from the cops, because that seems to happen more often than not in cyberpunk settings. So you are, then you just kind of like go into this back alley, and there's this professor there, and maybe you even see him starting to just absorb these bandits, Ghostbusters style, into this box, and he sees you. And maybe he's even been looking for you. He absorbs you in too. And when you get absorbed in, you're in this initial waiting area, very much like BioShock, where you're like descending down into it, and it's talking about like, "I'm Andrew Ryan, and this is the world that I've built for you," but less evil, more like, "Hi, welcome to this world where like you can stay here for as long as you like," or maybe there's a final exam you have to pass, or something like that. And if you don't pass it, then you don't leave. Which could add some cool puzzles and stuff like that. Anyway, you then like go down, and it opens up, and it's just massive in scale. You're expecting to see like 10 people, and you just see like so many people, and you're like, how many people has this professor absorbed into this world? And that's when you begin to realize that it is very just anarchy in here. The people he's absorbing are not the cream of the crop. They are the people who he thinks, these people need the most help, so I'll give them an infinite amount of time to get their act together. And that has not been the case. And
in reality, the inmates have started to run the prison.
Exactly. Yep.
So this also brings up like something to me where I think it's sort of interesting to think about how you could sort of deal with the length of time being stuck in here. Because maybe like a glitch, maybe like people start to have glitches over time, and they start to have little faults in their code that that are like slowly breaking down, and then you see, and I this is so funny because I literally did this exact same thing in the last episode, but essentially Lost Souls again. Can we just have Lost Souls in every
You and your
episode?
Lost Souls.
Okay, well that's one idea.
No, I like
sorry.
it. I like it. No, because it makes sense. Like information decays over time. Like there are those glitches in the system that happen. So I think it makes sense. Like the internal pressure could be that there are some people on the inside who are starting to glitch out. I think too on the opposite side of things, this could be a really weird thing just to throw at your players in the middle of something else. Because they're in this world where time's not passing for them, but outside time's still passing. So it's kind of this moment of like, oh crap, like we have to get back outside. Like time isn't having an effect on us, but it is having an effect on everything outside. We're right in the middle of something. We have to go save someone or do something, and that could put that pressure on too. Or not. You could just have time straight up pause, and as soon as they escape, everybody just escapes exactly where the box currently is.
Oh my god, what a cluster that would be.
I know, right?
Because then you've got to start to deal with how many people do we have here? How do we all get these people out of here properly? Do we want to get these people out of here? It would sort of be like opening Arkham Asylum on the city.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In a way.
Dude, I didn't even think about that, because you can't just let
so,
these people out. And,
especially if they
here's your moral conundrum. Do you leave these bandits in this prison where they are essentially slowly just dying, even though they're not supposed to be, or they're in this eternal prison, or do you help everyone in here escape? Do you help some people escape? Maybe this guy has a good idea that your players are like, okay, we can help him fix this because it's not working in there. Or are they?
It reminds me of an episode of Rick and Morty whenever Rick creates a battery that's powered by an alternate or by a different universe.
Exactly. Yep. That's right. We're Rick and Morty fans because we have the highest IQ. Yeah, I definitely said that right. The highest HQDs here to compete for prizes.
We're gonna definitely trigger people because apparently they're not. Rick and Morty fans are not liked. I guess
really?
Is from what I've heard. Yeah, they're like referred to as snooty and uppity or something like that. I think to each his own, right? Like just if you enjoy the show, you enjoy the show.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, that's what it is. But yeah, okay. So the beginning is obviously getting trapped in this, and I like the idea of what you said about how it could be sort of a midpoint of something that they weren't even expecting. Chasing these guys down the street, and then all of a sudden they see them get sucked into this random sort of box or computer, and then the guy looks to you and says, and sucks you up too.
Yep.
Now, how do we get out, or why do they want to get out?
Well, once again, that goes back to the idea of them being pressured in there. There's these glitches happening. I don't think anyone's going to want to stay in there because it is so Arkham City. So hopefully between the mixture of the glitches and whatever else they were doing when they did get like absorbed or stuck up, hopefully that puts the pressure on the players if they want to get out. But more of what I was wondering too is, what level do you think this would be good to run for? Like, I'm kind of feeling maybe, is this something we run for an early level party? Because it's that twist of like, okay, you're going to go out and fight this bandit camp, but then you get there and you're fighting bandits, but not the way you expected at all.
Yeah. First off, is Cyberpunk a D20 game?
Cyberpunk, I think it could be like a D&D game, but I know Starfinder, we've been doing Cyberpunk pretty good.
Oh, I thought Cyberpunk was a system. It's not a system?
Oh, no, it's a theme.
It's an actual... No.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just a theme. Okay, cool. I thought there was an actual Cyberpunk system.
Well, and it's okay. And this is a perfect theme for a Cyberpunk session, too, because Cyberpunk, it's a brand of sci-fi where everything's really gritty, everything's really dark, and there are few good guys. Like, if any good guys. Even the guys who are considered good have bad ulterior motives, which just totally ties into this idea of here is a good guy doing a very bad thing, and here are bad people in this jail improvement world who are abusing the system, and we can't just escape, because if we just escaped, now all of a sudden here's thousands of these bandits just being unleashed where? In the middle of this town? So it's always just a moral conundrum after a moral conundrum after a moral conundrum, which could just be a ton of fun.
Absolutely. And you could still do really cool... It's... You know what I've realized about storytelling is a lot of it is reskinning and then just reapplying.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Mad Max post-apocalyptic battle race or whatever, driving around not trying to die, essentially, is the same in a lot of ways as the bikes that shoot out lights behind them as they try to block off, other racers and try to destroy them around.
Yeah.
Sort of the same concept. It's just it's a reskin. And so that's the beauty of storytelling in a lot of ways.
I know it makes it easy at times. But let's talk. I think we kind of have our hook a little bit in our world building aspects. What do you think are some NPCs when you think of this world? Who do you see? Like who or what factions do you think of?
I think of the detective's office. I think of this like cyberpunk detective sort of guy that's just like sitting there smoking a cigarette underneath like a light, like one of those green lamps that you would see back in the day. Everything around their entire office is like futuristic and new school and neon and all this kind of stuff, but they still stick with this sort of like, almost 70s aesthetic of wooden desk and wooden sort of pillars that hold up the building around them. And so it's a bunch of these guys that are just jaded cops, jaded detectives
that
are trying to clean the streets, essentially. And this could be a great mission giver in this area. Is one of the ones that I was thinking for sure.
No, I agree.
I was also thinking the glitches as well, like the glitched. This is a EDM band, but the glitch mob.
Ooh, that sounds good.
That could be sort of like this group of people that all have specific little glitches to them, and so they're almost like just done with this world. They're just done trying anymore, and so they're moving on. You have sort of the entrepreneurs that are trying to take advantage of the world, try to capitalize on it. You can go a lot of different ways. What about you?
As you were talking, I was just getting a bunch of ideas off what you were saying. So these cops, it'd be easy to have, this professor dude roll into a town, especially in a cyberpunk setting, and say, here is a corrupt police force. I'm just going to throw them into here until they rethink their ways. So boom, now we have this corrupt police force. And that could be where we have these characters. Maybe there are some people who in there have learned their ways, and some who are still being these corrupt police officers. Like you said too, this idea of a glitch mob. Maybe you have these people who are, either going through some kind of drug struggle, or maybe like they're just spending all their nights at the tavern, whatever. So he absorbs them into to say, okay, I'm going to help you detox in this world. And now they have this very glitchy type of all over the place personality. You have probably people who I see this guy absorbing who were just normal citizens, just on accident. He absorbed them and thought, oh, well, you know what? They'll thank me for it later.
Or maybe he becomes power hungry and starts absorbing people for not opening the door, or just innocuous things that you would think would be nothing. He starts going, well, you should probably learn your lesson.
You should probably learn some manners. Yep. Yeah. Yep. I love this idea. Okay, so interactions and personalities. I think definitely the cop for the quest giver is a great, especially detective, like, because he's going to try to figure out how to get out of there too. You could have and like you said too, you could even have this whole business scientific world where there is this group of people there who loves being there, and they're trying to improve their craft, and they're trying to push scientific boundaries, and maybe you have to get out by going through them. I do like the idea of there being this test giver, and that's how you're supposed to get out is, when you get pulled in because you have to take a certain type of test. And when you pass that test, you can leave. But the test is so impossibly hard because in this guy's mind, he's like, if you're going to be in here for forever, you might as well really learn your lesson and make it like really hard. So no one's been able to pass this test, but they're starting to learn that there's like this secret back workaround. And that could be where you run more of a dungeon thing. Maybe there is a secret back like workaround, but since this guy isn't concerned with people dying, because when you die you just respawn, maybe he's put some things in the path to really kill people who come through just to send them back to their spawn point. So you have to really fight or sneak or dungeon crawl through this back alley in order to get out in one piece.
One thing that I was thinking about while you were saying that was the Warriors. Have you ever heard of the Warriors?
Ooh, the Warriors, yeah.
Yeah, and a bunch of different types of gangs so that you could theme them around that. I think stealing, almost just sort of carbon copying the Warriors, but then put them in a cyberpunk scenario would be a cool thing. So you're an innocent bystander, essentially just trying to get through it, but now you're caught in the middle of this gang war of a bunch of different gangs, all with their own little themes and stuff like that. Because again, themes and the changing of what things look like around you can also be applied towards your characters as well. So if you start to change up how your characters look and how your enemies look, it really creates a sort of varied experience for your players. So I think that would be something that'd be a lot of fun, and it plays right into the Mean Streets, which is it. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Mean Streets is definitely like a 70s aesthetic.
Oh yeah,
right? Yeah,
you gotta have like this. Yep. Yep. Okay, so that happened. But okay, so these we've got these different gangs, all skinned differently, and especially because this guy's just absorbing. He is literally absorbing all these different types of gangs. So you could have the one where it's all like these really. You could just get so fun, like you'd be so fun with it. Like you have like the gang that looks like they're all heavy metal guys, the Assassins Guild, the Thieves Guild type, all of these different groups, and they're all vying for power. The disco dancers. Yep.
Yeah. Let's just lean into the 70s on this one.
You might as well. You got like the Thrashers, you've got the disco people, you've got the the freaks and geeks. The white collar criminals. So what are some mechanics we can use? Are there any mechanics that are different in this world, or is it kind of just is it just like a flavorful reskinning on a normal world?
So we need to provide repercussion for death.
Yes.
Because you can't just have your guy sort of Bill Murray Groundhog's Dead and just die over and over and over again. So what do we do to that? Maybe some of the hardest criminals, their scars are their glitches, and that's because they've died so many times.
I mean, this could be real mean. But what if we were talking with, was that Fractorum we were talking to about Dark Souls the other day?
Yeah.
What if it was Dark Souls-esque, where in this world where you're trying to accumulate knowledge, maybe when you died, you lost some knowledge. And maybe that's like an unintentional side effect is there's...
Do you lose gear? Do you lose gear in Dark Souls when you die?
No, you get your gear back.
Okay.
But you lose that XP unless you go and get it back. So could that be something? I mean, that's like,
yeah, and
taking experience from players is big.
it sort of fits as well, because because I mean, if we're thinking from like a cyberpunk scenario, it's sort of like a video game in a lot of ways, and so Dark Souls structure is obviously a video game, so that could absolutely work, and that would absolutely give them motivation not to die, because I don't want to lose all my experience. I don't want to lose all this, and this. Like, that's 100% motivation in my mind for a player to say, "All right, we got to figure this thing out,
and we have to get out of here." And the thing too is, I think you stress. I think you can stress maybe as they initially get in, since they just got absorbed in with bandits, you could have one of them die and lose like a little bit of experience. They easily get back. So it's like, okay, lesson learned. If you die, you, not good. But you could also just have that be expressed through the NPCs, because, man, it would really, you want to maybe surprise your players with that, but you don't want to surprise them in a really bad way, because losing experience does suck. So make it so it feels like, okay, I don't want to die, and not like, well, shoot, I died like 5 times, and now like I've lost so much experience. I'll never level up. Especially if you're running this for a new level, like a lower level party. That being said, I think it's totally doable. I think it could be done in a really good way, and that makes it feel like very cyberpunky. Like I'm gaining this knowledge, and then I've literally lost the knowledge when I died. All those 1s and 0s left, and maybe even have that XP gain be a part of a part of this world. Like when you actually kill one of these bandits, you tell them right then, like, okay, you get this much. You literally get this much experience, just like a video game.
Yeah, and like damage numbers pop up above their head.
Yep.
And stuff like that. Okay, I think that's probably the best way to go about doing it. And then if, for example, this is sort of stupid, but a USB drive just hits the ground, and that's the experience that they lost. And if they're able to get back to that point without dying, they can recollect.
Get it back. Yep.
Yeah, and gain their XP. You can do it in a lot of different ways. You don't have to just do it as an actual USB drive or anything like that.
Now, I do think,
though,
as they're trying to escape and go through this back route and run through this dungeon, I do think that if you die in that dungeon and you're trying to escape, I think that failsafe turns off and you can't get that experience back. But you let them know that going in. So they have this. I think if you do something like that, your players will over-prepare for that dungeon, especially if you give them chances to find these like health potions, or to help people out to get additional gear, or to get additional ways past parts of the level. I think if you let them know, okay, in the dungeon you die and you respawn, but you lose your experience and there's no coming back, I feel like that will really motivate players who don't normally prepare to prepare.
Yeah. So, do you think that this guy that created this little world that he sucked people into, he's gonna have like a big bad guarding the final gate out, right? Like a giant monster sort of type
he has to.
Yeah. Like a mechanoid or something like that.
So
I think would be pretty cool.
Here's something I was looking into the other day, and I think could totally, like a mechanical cyberpunk version of this, could totally fit into this, is actually a sphinx. Like an androsphinx or a gynosphinx from D&D. So in D&D, these sphinxes they look like how you imagine a sphinx to look from, Egyptian culture. But they are these incredibly intelligent guardians put somewhere by a god, like whether it's defending a portal or defending a magical item or a certain piece of information. They're put there to protect that information until somebody worthy for it comes and gets it. So they're all about testing people through testing their mental, their emotional, their physical prowess. And if someone fails, then they go all out to try to defeat them almost. And I love this idea of there being this, cyber mechanical lion with wings, and it's this creator's face on the lion, but his eyes are like glowing. Yes. He's got these intense these intense glowing runes on his face.
Yes.
And you walk into his lair, and as you're going through, it's not always just encounters with him, but it's almost like a different type of test. And you've got these different rooms that you're fighting through. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I like the idea of the final way out as being a gauntlet. I think gauntlets are pretty fun. We seem to like them here on Filling in the Gaps. But yeah, I think that's amazing because you could do a gauntlet of test from the Gynosphinx or Gynosphinx. Is Gyno?
Well, there's the Androsphinx is the male and the Gynosphinx is the female.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, well then either one. I won't assume either one of their sphinxes.
Did you just assume my sphinx?
I did assume your sphinx, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that would be a good way to do it because, I think all players sort of prepare themselves for battle at the very end of any kind of scenario, and they can sort of feel when it's the end of a scenario. But if you've prepared them through riddles or test of strength or test of will or something like that, that's a little bit more interesting because this would be the person's way of saying like you're worthy of going back into the real world now. And since the Sphinx is created by a god, in a sense, this is that version's god, right?
Created by him. Yeah.
Right. And so that absolutely gives them that opportunity to bring them out of the world from that perspective. My only thing is this. After they get out, obviously your players are not going to be happy with him.
Oh, no.
Or whomever your bad guy is. So, then what? What happens if they destroy the box? What happens if they destroy him?
I kind of like the idea of him being very unimpressive. Like, the final boss is this Sphinx thing. And then when they get out, he's a real easy guy just to, like, grab on the collar and be like, dude. But I think you have to give them that... I mean, I hope that... I think the players would see and understand, and maybe even this scientist can explain, like, you can't just release everybody. Like, you guys earned your way out. But if you release everybody in there, think of all of the bandits that you're releasing right here in this moment, in the middle of this town. Like, you can't do that. And it puts that conundrum in their lap of, like, do we release them? Does this guy have a point? Can we convince this guy to make improvements to his world and not just be so hands-off with it to maybe actually help these people? Maybe a reflection of, like, modern prisons. Do we go somewhere and release all these people in, like, the middle of a field or something? Do we create a prison to release these people into?
What if this is their reward? This box of chaos is their reward.
Ooh, and they have to figure out how to do it? Like,
well, not even if they had to figure out how to do it. They know how to figure out how to open it. But say, for example, you're in a really awful situation. You're in the middle of a fortress or something like that. And you're just like, man, I have no way out. And you need to cause a little bit of a distraction. What would it be like to release 20,000 people on a fortress?
Especially mostly bandits. Yep.
Yeah. And then that's your way out for sure.
See, that could be I think that could be really cool because even thinking about it, like going back to the idea of this Sphinx, he's looking for someone to, maybe even another thing with him is he knows he can't be in charge of this box. It's too much of a responsibility. So he's looking for someone to escape so that person, knowing what it's like on the inside, can be the one to hold the responsibility of, like, what do we do with this thing?
Right.
And so afterwards he just gives it to you. Going back, I know this is backtracking a little bit, but I had a cool idea. So going back to the idea of glitches, I know I default to D&D all the time, but what can I say? I really like D&D. There is this type of foe in D&D called the Slod. And Slods come from the elemental plane of chaos. They're just these...
Slod?
Slod. S-L-A-A-D-I. They are from the realm of chaos, just straight born of chaos, not good, not evil, just straight chaotic, wants to destroy everything and cause as much chaos as possible. One way that they spread is these certain slots, either through attacking and like laying an egg through their claw, or by creating some kind of attack or eating something, they will transform these other beings into more Slod. That could be something really cool to do with glitches, is have these glitches being turning into these Slod forms. And it even lets you kind of create another little minor arc that if your players ever release someone into the world who is infected with the Slod thing, and that just adds more of a moral conundrum too. You have these people, you can't just let them all die in there, but do you risk releasing this Slod disease onto the rest of the world as well?
Yeah. You know, you're going to have some players that are just going to be like, I'm going to go in the ocean and release them all there.
Yep, that's true. And that solves the problem. I mean...
And that does solve the problem. I didn't see it happen. I'm out of here.
Exactly.
That's terrible.
They were bandits anyway.
Yeah, who cares? Mean streets, my ass. All right, so let's do a synopsis of the story. I failed miserably last week, I feel like. So
no, dude, you did great. Hey.
Thanks.
Hey. You did great. Keep it up.
I really appreciate you.
But are you saying you want me to do this one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the red and blue lights of sirens are right behind you as you turn into the dark alley. You're in the middle of chasing someone who you've been trying to track down for weeks now. They framed you. They were the one who stole or killed that person. As you go into the alley, however, you see them vanish right before your eyes into a cloud of blue pixels. Behind him stands a man in a large trench coat with thick glasses that gleam in the light. He smiles at you, and then you find yourself pulled into a world covered in blue, geometric lines and shapes all around you. All of these welcome signs and television screens advertise that this world is a place of continual improvement, that as long as you're here, you're safe, you won't need to eat, you won't need to sleep, and you'll never die. And then when you are able to face the test to leave, you're welcome to leave whenever you can. You walk through the streets, and as you look over the city skyline, purples and greens and vibrant hues of orange and fluorescent colors lighting up every street and alley, you see chaos in front of you. Gang wars in the streets, people disappearing and reappearing, what would appear to be some kind of cop force trying to maintain the peace and some causing their own chaos. Average Joes running for cover as this huge gang war unleashes in the city. You can see that what was meant to be a haven of improvement has turned into a bed of chaos. And in the distance, you see a large tower. At the top of the tower sits a figure you can barely make out. It's glowing in blue and purples. Its hue constantly changing. It spreads its wings as it wraps the wings up around the top of the tower and takes off into the distance. Welcome to... what do we call this world? Welcome to Improvement Zone. I lost it at the end there, but... That's the problem with ad-libbing things.
You're so good at that.
Sometimes
stuff,
you're like, oh well, crap. What do I call this?
Welcome to Computer Land. That's what I call it. We have computer here.
Dude, I want to use this for my next intro session of like level ones. I think it'd be a really cool way of taking some like jaded D&D pros who were like, oh, I've seen everything, and be like, okay, I have not seen this before.
That's definitely true. Man, I have to say, I almost want to... I have shall we roll, and that's 3 words. I'm really good at those 3 words.
Those are 3 great words.
Those are 3 really, really good words. Like top level words right there. I might leave synopsis for you, my friend, because you kill it every single week.
Oh, dude, yours was great.
We'll continue to improve, and I'll continue to work on it.
Hey,
that's what we'll do.
Everyone, leave Cam a little bit of encouragement on social media and in the iTunes review. Let him know he's doing a good job.
No, oh my God.
Oh, it's coming now.
I don't want that.
It's coming now.
I don't want that. I don't need that.
But
yeah, that's awesome though, man. I think that was that's a good one. That's a really cool story that's not necessarily D&D based, which is cool because we want to try to hit them all
exactly
as best we can. Yeah.
But
so I think that was really good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Filling in the Gaps. As always, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes. We're on all the things, dude. If you look for us, you'll find us. What do you got?
I just remembered, actually. I wanted to do a huge shout out to Podknife.
Oh, yes, Podknife.
Podknife, thank you very much for hosting us. And you can actually find us and review us and sort of just take a look at anything that you need to about our episode or anybody's episodes of podcast on Podknife. You can follow them at Podknife on Twitter, and they're fantastic. So go check them out. Go leave us a review on their page. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
But really, really appreciative to them as well. So that's our social media stuff.
Yeah, we did it. We do the social media. But until next time we are rolling our D20s, we hope you guys can use what we have for you guys to help fill in your gaps in your next game night. Let us know how it goes. Share stories and ideas. We'll give you the shout out, and we will see you guys on the next one.